What do you do when a fruit tree just suddenly dies? This used to be my apricot tree. It was the very first fruit tree I planted when I moved into this house. And it gave me amazing harvests, like the type of harvest that you brag about a little bit because it actually goes the way that you want it to. But then this summer, it basically overnight just decided to wilt and completely die. Now, I've grown a lot of fruit trees, but this one really meant something to me. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through what happened, what I think went wrong, and what I learned from it in case it helps you too. And stay with me to the end of the video because I'm gonna need a little help with a decision that I have to make. But let's go back to the beginning, back when things were still going really well. I planted this golden sweet apricot tree about 6 years ago, and I knew that apricots were going to be a challenge in my humid East Texas climate, but it's one of my favorite fruits and I just had to try it. So I picked a good variety, one that I knew would flower and fruit late enough to beat the early frosts, and I planted it in a good spot and it thrived. It was doing so well that I practically forgot about it. But then last fall, I noticed signs of something that I had really been hoping not to see. Last fall, I noticed some gummosis on this tree. So that's that sort of sticky sap that oozes out of, especially stone fruit trees, but it can happen to a lot of different trees. And there are some fairly innocent reasons why that happens sometimes, but it was pretty prevalent, and I noticed some other possible signs of stress on my tree. So I did make a video about this, about how I figured out what was going on with this tree last fall. So I'll be sure to link to that if you want to see the whole process of what exactly was going on. But to make a long story short, I figured out that this tree had bacterial canker, and that was what was causing the oozing, and it's a bacterial disease that's fairly common and can come up a lot, especially in humid climates like mine. Now, where I went wrong, I think, is in not realizing how severe the infection was. And I did some things. I made sure I was spraying with copper fungicide in the winter. I made sure I used really sanitized pruning tools and avoided pruning in wet weather. I thought I was doing everything right, and when the tree leafed out in the spring, it looked beautiful. I didn't see the gummosis. I didn't see, significant signs of the disease. I thought, well, maybe it's under control. I even got a huge harvest of apricots this spring, just a few months ago. Unfortunately, that's not where the story ended. In mid-March, this tree was full of blooms. It leafed out beautifully, and then by the end of April, I had a huge crop of beautiful, large, sweet apricots, and I was thrilled. I thought the danger was past. Well then, in early June, I noticed the leaves on the trees started to just wilt a little bit and look droopy, almost as if it was heat or drought stressed, except that it hadn't gotten too hot yet, and this tree has thrived in the heat in the past, and we'd also had really regular rainfall throughout the spring and early summer. So I didn't think that was it. And then before you know it, by mid-late July, all of the leaves fell and the tree just completely was dead. Now, looking back, I know that a tree that is stressed out can push out one last big crop of fruit as sort of a last-ditch effort to try to procreate and stay alive. And I think that's what this tree did with my great spring harvest. And it gave me a false sense of security. So here I am, it's the middle of summer, I've got a dead apricot tree, but I wasn't content to just kind of call it a day and dig out the tree and move on. I wanted some answers, so I reached out for some help. So this is where I'm going to give you a little PSA. If you haven't already, go out and get plugged in with your extension service. Find out where the local office is and who the local extension agent is. Because extension services exist to help local farmers and gardeners grow better and to answer their questions and just help them be more successful. So when I had questions about my apricot tree and I wanted some backup, that's where I went. I reached out to Dr. Tim Hartman, who is the fruit specialist at Texas AgriLife Extension, and he's a professor at Texas A&M University. And he very kindly exchanged some emails with me. I sent him pictures, and he helped me kind of, go through the process of figuring out what was going on with my apricot tree. So I just want to thank Dr. Hartman for taking the time out to correspond with me. And I just want to encourage anybody who's watching this video to find your extension service. I'm going to put some information information in the description to help you do that. And also, while you're at it, check to see if your state has a Master Gardener program. That is a program that's offered through state extension services, and it's basically extensive volunteer training. So you go through a bunch of gardening classes, you plug in with local gardeners, all so that you can volunteer and educate the public all about gardening in your area as sort of a volunteer representative of the extension office. So check out the Master Gardener program near you, get connected with your extension service, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And by the way, you can also ask me questions. I'm not quite as expert as they are, but I'm always happy to answer. So even with expert help, the answers aren't always clear, but there are a few things that I've learned that I can take away from this whole apricot tree experience. So here are some of the things that I've learned from this whole situation, and some of these things I did right and other ones I kind of missed or maybe was a little bit late on. So first of all, I'm gonna always double check the rootstock of a grafted fruit tree. So I don't know specifically what rootstock this apricot tree was grown on. It's a golden sweet, but I do know that one of the most common ones is Nemagard, which is a peach rootstock, and it's great because it is root knot nematode resistant. But I have also learned through research done after the fact, after the death of this tree, that it is very susceptible to bacterial canker. And a lot of apricot trees come from California, and so they're just not super well adapted to a humid climate like mine. And ultimately, that might be what the problem really was. Not so much anything I did, but just the way that the tree kind of just is. Another thing is to make sure you're always pruning with really sharp tools. Make sure they're always sanitized, and you never prune anywhere near wet weather, because that is just going to invite bacteria and fungus and various other problems into the mix. My apricot tree was planted in really well-draining, sandy soil up on a bit of a hill, and even though that was a little bit of an accident 6 years ago when I planted it, it was the right move. Apricot trees love really well-draining soil, as do most fruit trees, so keep an eye out on drainage. The other thing this has really confirmed for me is the fact that it really pays to diversify your garden. And if you're going to grow fruit trees, take the time to find out what is going to grow well in your area with the least amount of work and extra effort on your part. So as I look around the rest of my garden, I'm really pleased that I chose things that are going to grow well: fig trees, blackberry bushes, persimmons, things that I don't have to do a lot of work to get a reliable harvest. I knew from the beginning the apricots were going to be a challenge, and they definitely have been, but that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Just go into it with your eyes wide open if you're going to plant something that's sort of borderline for your zone and climate. Losing a tree is tough, especially one that's been a part of my garden for years. But honestly, it's all a part of growing fruit at home. And when you have the perfect mixture of weather and timing and just bad luck, sometimes that's all it takes. But more than anything, it brings home the fact that gardening isn't about perfection, but it's about persistence. So here's where I need your help. As I'm about to take down this dead tree, I've got to figure out what I'm going to put in its place. So, should I plant another golden sweet apricot tree? After all, I did have success, and I know a lot more now about what I'm getting into. Or should I try something else, something that's maybe a little bit more low maintenance and is a little bit more surefire in my climate? Let me know in the comments what you think I should do, and please share any stories that you have of losing a fruit tree so that we can all encourage each other. I think we'll find that this is a really common shared experience for gardeners, losing a beloved fruit tree. But you know, there's always something new to grow, and that's what keeps it worth it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.